As President Trump's sweeping tariff hikes on nearly every trading partner set to officially kick in, the president says he's raising tariffs on a country that is also a key ally.
The president says he's doubling taxes on imports from India to 50% because India, he says, is buying oil from Russia. India is calling the escalation, quote, unfair, unjustified, and unreasonable. Those new tariffs are set to take effect on India in 3 weeks. But at midnight Eastern time tonight, tariffs of at least 10% are set to become reality on imports coming in from nearly 70 different countries. That marks the highest tariff rates the U.S. has seen in almost 100 years. Let's bring in NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung. Also with us, NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba. Great to see you all. Monica, what are we learning about this tariff rate specifically for India, and why is the president going after Russian oil right now?
Yeah, this, of course, has some geopolitical implications here, Kate, in addition to the economic ones. And what's notable is that as the president is trying to secure a potential ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, he's essentially threatening Russia with secondary tariffs, right, with these kinds of sanctions that go after countries that do business with Russia. So that's why specifically he is slapping this higher rate on India right now, because they are purchasing Russian oil that the U.S. argues fuels the Russian war machine. So that is why that is something that they had said would potentially take place on Friday, once that deadline that had been truncated down from 50 days to 10 days for President Putin had ended. But instead, he's announcing that he's going to go forward with that now. Again, that could be a pressure tactic to try to see if there could be some resolution to that other conflict. But it also fits into this broader picture of the president deciding these tariff rates and continuing on with these decisions on trade, as he has been with other countries as well, guys.
Hey, Brian, something that jumped out to me was the president saying that Americans might get some cash from the government because of the money coming in from tariffs. Here's what he said on Friday. Let's listen.
There are a lot of people that would like to see us do sort of a dividend to the people of our country. It's something I consider. How much would you I want to pay off debt, but there's a possibility I'd do a dividend.
I mean, is that a tacit acknowledgement, Brian, that prices are going to be rising for people and there could be some pressure on the household budgets, and as tariff money is coming in, he kind of wants to give some of that to Americans?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is kind of putting money in one hand and putting it in the other in some respects, because, yes, if you are giving the American people some of this as a rebate, if you will, and giving some of these savings back to the American consumer, well, that just might go into buying things that are going to cost a lot more because of the same tariffs that are leading to that revenue coming in the first place. So what is true is that the president has said there's $30 billion that came in from the tariffs as of last month. That is fact-checked true according to what the Treasury Department has reported. But of course, where that money comes from is going to be of much debate. As we know how the tariffs work, it's American companies that have to pay those increased costs. So it's not necessarily other countries. So that $30 billion might just be coming from America itself, just, again, going from basically the companies that are then paying it to potentially the consumer if it is indeed paid out as a dividend. Another thing that's worth pointing out here is that the last time a similar idea was floated, it was with regards to savings that were made by Elon Musk's Doge. There was a proposal that was floated around there publicly that perhaps there would be something called a Doge dividend. Again, very similarly, any savings coming from government cuts in terms of programs would be refunded to Americans in the form of a rebate. I want to point out there has been no movement on that. And even the president seemed to admit in that soundbite that we just played that the primary purpose for the tariff collections are to pay down the debt, and that maybe somewhere down the line he could do this kind of dividend to pay out to the American consumer. But again, as you point out, this is all very much kind of a shell game of money that's kind of moving around as a result of these policies.
Brian, let's talk about the tariff rates that are going to go into effect tonight, supposedly at midnight Eastern time. How likely are consumers, all of us, to feel the impact of those tariffs?
Yeah, well, we are likely to impact them. I think it's a question of when. When you take a look at the map of all the tariff rates that are set to take effect at midnight tonight, you have to bring up a magnifying glass because there are so many countries. There are about 70 countries that are going to be impacted here at different rates. And I know a lot of people might be thinking, wait, Brian, I thought that we had been hearing about these tariffs. They were on again. They were off again. I thought we weren't taking this seriously. Well, this is the most kind of hard threat that we've seen of these tariffs taking effect, because there have been negotiations with countries where there has been a finalization of these discussions to say, actually, you will be effectively tariffed at this rate. Look at a country like Vietnam, where, yes, even though there were discussions, there was an agreement, it's still a 20% tariff, which will impact the cost of footwear, clothing that comes in so much from that country. You look at Brazil at a 50% tariff rate. That can make coffee beans more expensive. But what we have seen based off of tariffs that have been put in effect earlier this year, it takes months to experience. So again, it's not that prices will go up immediately on Friday, guys.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.